We're here. We're actually below here. We're here at
36 Below.
36 Below, which is below
Sip Coffee and Beer in Arcadia.
On Indian School.
Yeah,
Indian
3620 East Indian School.
Excellent, guys. Thanks for having us in. This is exciting.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this, so I'm glad we could finally do this.
Yeah, we connected a couple years ago, Mo. I think, right? Initially, and just here we are.
Yeah,
here we are, man.
finally.
Cheers to everybody. We all have different drinks. This is. I've got this. What is this? Peanut butter chocolate shake?
Yeah, chocolate peanut butter shake.
Dude,
that we do.
Did you add plant protein for me, Luke, or is
Did you ask me to?
No,
I didn't think so.
It's an option though, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I got the chai latte, and it's delicious. For some reason, I'm on like a chai kick for the past 2 days.
I noticed that, man.
I got the sip water because I've already had my daily intake of 2 cups of coffee this morning, so I'm good.
That's no regular
now
water.
I have to
either.
hydrate. No, it's sip water.
Exactly, yeah.
You sip this.
Yep, and it's bottled by Sedona Water Company.
Yeah.
So it is actually very special water.
Yeah, and then the chai actually, we went back and forth a lot with the chais, and that's the Maya chai out of Tucson.
Okay.
So
it's delicious.
We've had that for a long time. So.
Yeah, excellent. Nice work. Mo, what are you having?
Oh, I have an espresso tonic with lemon zest. Yeah.
This wasn't on purpose, but I feel we all got something that really is unique to sip.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like this
What
was
is an espresso tonic?
So it literally is just our tonic, water, and then ice, and then float. I floated 4 shots of espresso on there.
Oh, wow.
It's that kind of morning.
Got a big day ahead of you.
Yeah. And then with a nice little lemon zest, which
Wake up.
It brings that little. I'm normally a nitro cold brew kind of guy, but I was feeling a little different today. So
nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, cheers, guys. Thanks
Cheers.
for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us in. Well, let's meet our guests first. So let's start with the gentleman here on the end. What is your name and what is your role here?
My name is Josh Katz. I am the owner of Sip Coffee and Beer and co-owner and co-founder of 36 Below.
Excellent. And that's both locations, right? That's Old Town.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And this gentleman here, my friend.
My name is Maurice Murillo, but everybody knows me as Mo, and I am a owner-operator of SIP, both locations, and then Josh, myself, and another partner, co-owners of 36 Below as well.
Excellent. Well, I was going to say cheers again.
Yeah, cheers.
Is there caffeine in this? Because I'm already feeling amped.
No.
No caffeine there.
No.
You're just happy to be here, probably.
Yeah. The other one, the coffee and oat, actually has cold brew in it, so it's really good. Not enough to jazz you up, I don't think, but
maybe that was a coffee I had on my way.
Yeah.
So now, are you from Josh? Are you from Arizona?
I am born and raised.
Are you?
Yep.
Nice. What part?
I grew up on the west side. I'm from the avenues, not the streets. West side. I've lived a couple different places. Spent some time in Southern California, Chicago, Denver, but home's Arizona. Yeah.
Excellent. Did you ever say, I got to get away from Arizona?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I say it every summer. I tell my wife every summer about this time, hey, we're moving.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't now. We're rooted here. But, yeah, it sounds good.
The goal is to get a second house then? Right?
Absolutely. It's Flagstaff. Yeah. I love Flagstaff. Now, I spent 7 years up there, went to school up there. That's some of the inspiration behind the visuals that you see at 36 Below. That's how I love it so much. But, yeah, I just love being in the cool pines of Flag, and it's my favorite escape. And someday, either that or the beach. Flagstaff's closer, probably cheaper, too. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Presumably you went to NAU up there?
Correct, yeah.
What did you study?
I studied hotel restaurant management, and I had my first job as a manager at a Radisson Woodlands hotel. Actually, back then it was Best Western Woodlands Hotel, and then transitioned to Radisson. But I did, I worked there for 5 years, and worked every position in the food and beverage side. I started off as a busboy, then worked my way up, and was a room service attendant, and then I worked as a server in both. They had 2 distinct restaurants on property, a fine dining cafe and a Japanese teppanyaki restaurant called Sakura. And I served in both those restaurants, and I did banquets. And then when I left the hotel, I was food and beverage director. So I learned a lot. And when I was food and beverage director, I had no idea what I was doing.
Did you
I
at least
just
know
carried
more?
I carried a rolled up piece of paper and a pen, and I walked fast, and that meant everybody thought I knew what I was doing. I was always busy, but
He was
no,
always- he was always
I had a
going
really
somewhere.
I had a really good mentor up there, and I learned a lot. But at the same time, I learned how not to do things. But later, found my passion to be in full service standalone restaurants, casual dining. So.
What brought you into food and beverage originally?
Well, I started my first job ever was I was a busboy at a steakhouse that's not there anymore. The Barn. It was on 67th Avenue in Union Hills, and I worked there for a little bit, and then I don't know what happened. I quit there, I think, and then I was a busboy at Garcia's Mexican restaurant on 59th and Bell, and I just fell in love with the energy. I just love the fast-paced environment. I love the camaraderie with the other people. I was working with kids my own age, and I guess that's really what it was.
And this
the
was
energy.
before you went up to Flagstaff, right?
Yeah, so I went up to Flagstaff, and really not knowing what I was going to study or what I was going to go to school for. My sister was a little bit ahead of me, and she was studying education up there. She's a teacher. And I really went to just, it was either there at U of A or ASU. I was just definitely going to stay in state. And I just fell in love with Flagstaff. I just loved it, since the first time I visited. So I went up there and decided that's where I was going to go to school. And a year in, I just had no idea what I wanted to study. And it came down to, I really needed to pick something. So I kind of, thought about my past and what I had done. And really, all my experiences were in a restaurant. And to this day, I've never had a job outside of a restaurant.
So, it was obviously somewhat deliberate, but you kind of just fell into doing what you're doing now then, huh?
I did. Well, yeah, I did. Exactly. I fell into it because, as I mentioned, most of my experience is high volume casual dining, and I was a corporately trained operations guy, so I ran restaurants. And then, when I got married, I got tired of the day-to-day grind, and I didn't want to, spend 10, 12 hours a day, weekends and holidays away from my wife, so I decided to consult. And I was a restaurant consultant, and SIP was actually my first client.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and that's when we were opening our third location. That's how I met Mo, and he was the general manager of that location. And Mo was like a deer in headlights because he really had no support. He was thrown into the situation by the ownership and had no guidance, no support. And so I stepped in there, and him and we did the best we could with that location, but everything was just wrong out of the gate. They just designed wrong area, wrong demographic, wrong design.
That was the Scottsdale.
Yeah, Shea and
Yeah,
Scottsdale.
yeah.
Yeah, so we closed that in 2019 in May and just focused now on our two existing locations.
So how long ago was it that you two linked up at that location?
It was
2018.
yeah,
2018. June or July 2018.
And so since then you've been running the Old Town location and this one, correct?
Correct.
Which one was the first one to open?
Old Town.
Okay.
Yeah, 2014.
That's a cool spot. I've actually not been in there before, but I've obviously been to Goldwater several
Yeah,
times as
yeah.
a beer guy, and you see that spot,
Yeah.
and it's one of those buildings, kind of like this one, where it stands out a little bit, and you're like, oh, what's going on in there? And then you get inside a spot like this, and you're like, oh, this is something else. It's not just your regular, typical coffee shop, especially when you got this place down here as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. It's hip. It's edgy. It's warm. It's it's the epitome of a coffee shop. There's definitely two different feels if you are comparing the two locations. This one's a much different aesthetic. Old Town's more of a coffee shop feel. This is more a bar vibe, but a little bit more quicker pace with the drive-through. But two very different aesthetics, very different footprints.
And so, Mo, let's circle back to kind of your coming into food and beverage. Did you grow up in Arizona as well?
No, I'm actually from Michigan. So
Okay.
I've been here, November will be a full 6 years.
What brought you out here?
So just a change of pace, and I was living in Michigan. I lived in northern Michigan, family in Saginaw, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, and I actually used to teach kiteboarding too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was able to live in Puerto Rico and do some time, hang out in Florida and things like that. So it was very different, but I've always been in the food industry. So, and that kind of just, it's been, quite some time. I had applied for just a server position because I feel like I was always kind of not charismatic, but hospitable and
Sure.
and had that that vibe for myself, I feel. So I applied for this server position, and it was a friend of mine was the bartender, and I got it. But it was a mom and pop shop, and it was, quite the show. And there were times where, I'd sit back in the kitchen with the kitchen guys, and somebody wouldn't show up, or the bartender wouldn't show up, or the dish person wouldn't show up. So that's when I kind of started wearing all these hats. It was my first go as a server. It wasn't that busy, so it was something that I just kind of learned on my own. But the next thing you know, I'm learning how to, I was literally days I would go in, the chef wouldn't show up or was high or gone or something, drunk, hungover, and I had to take the orders, make my cocktails, and make my food, and then bring them back up. So it was.
It's like being a parent.
Yeah, it was something else. I literally, and I got thrown in there, and then when I had time, when there's no glasses, there's no silverware, I went back there and I did the dishes, and I mean we kind of all did. Even the owner, he was there, and definitely wasn't my mentor, but he kind of was just like, hey, we don't have anybody, like we need to keep this place open. And the team and I rallied and, would take care of the, what we needed to take care of. And then that just kind of started my whole career there, because I had started working in restaurants, and then I moved up to northern Michigan, excuse me, which for me to describe Traverse City is it's I think at one point number 5 Epicurean place in the world. A lot of chefs, a lot of good food. It's a touristy place that's right on Lake Michigan. But it's not on Lake Michigan. There's a bay that feeds into it. But, I mean, there's some really good chefs out there. And I went into the service industry over there, and that's when I actually had my first management position. So it was assistant manager, and it was at it was called Pangea's, and it was a pizza pub. So we had all these beers from around the world, pizzas that we did from around the world, different, like 1 month was Africa, another month was, Greece, whatever it may be. Cool. And then that was Chris Gerbach, that guy. He was the owner, and he's really where I learned, how to be a leader, and I really, he led by example. So he kind of, the way he treated the team and the staff and people that, because it was a small community, it was very touristy, like Flag, and it's the same thing as Flagstaff. You just take the lakes instead of the mountains. Sure. And but it was touristy, so there during season there was just millions of people there, and that's where I really learned how to hone in on like delegating. Anybody can manage. Anybody can tell people what to do, but I think being a leader makes a difference, and leading by example, and that's what I learned from him. And then now with this partnership, Josh and I are just definitely are a yin and yang, and we all have our strong attributes, and we've done a lot with SIP, and not to go ahead of time, but I just been in the service industry, and I was actually, before I moved here, I was in the medical. I did transport at one time. I was doing in physical medicine and rehabilitation, grabbing patients and things like that for the therapist. Then I went down to the X-ray room and to the ER.
That's what you were doing when you moved out here.
Yeah, right before I moved out here, and I was moonlighting as a bartender. Gotcha. I actually took a bartender position in Michigan. Didn't want any management position. I was at the hospital at 5:30 a.m. till whatever, and then would go bartend at night. Fast forward, moved out here. Different change of scenery, different pace, and I applied at 15 different places, and it was literally like your experience, like we're not. And then finally, I got hired at Morning Squeeze as a assistant manager. And that was great. It was, it was Scottsdale. So, and it was breakfast, and, anybody that's worked and it was the same thing. Kitchen staff would walk out because it was just so crazy and busy. Servers are crying, like people are just, people in how it goes. Like if you're in the industry, So I would go jump back there, and I'm on flat top, I'm on pantry. Let me run up there and go, I'll help you bartend in a second, so let me run foods. And, there's a line out the door for hours, and people were either walking in hungover, still awake from the night before. You have people popping bottles right next to you, and then a family of like 6 trying to enjoy their breakfast. And, it's just like, can you turn the music?
That sounds like Scottsdale.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I watched this girl one time. We were seating people, and I was at the bar, and she gets out of the Uber, and she like hikes down her skirt, crushes a beer, and throws it back in the Uber. Or no, she slams the Uber door, throws it in our trash can, and it's like, I'm here meeting friends, and then they're all sitting there, all probably industry or
no,
whatever.
the friends left a couple hours ago.
Yeah. And this is, mind you, 10 a.m. So.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So anyway, I was there. The breakfast thing is so finicky. I don't ever want to be.
I didn't realize that. Did you?
No, I didn't.
Breakfast is. I actually was on another podcast, and we talked about breakfast. It was a friend. It's a smaller one, a friend of mine, Brendan. But breakfast, man. If you can handle breakfast, you can handle anything, because it's fast paced. People are so picky about their breakfast, and that's like doing poach, doing different things like that. And but if you can handle breakfast, I think you can really, really do anything. But then I started moonlighting over here. When I first moved here, like I said, I applied bunch of different places, didn't hire me. Morning Squeeze took a chance, which was great. Shout out to Todd and Leslie at that time. But so I finally got a call back from the manager over here, and they had just opened this location. Well, at that time I lived in Scottsdale, so I wanted to work at the Scottsdale location. Now, mind you, I used to work at a place like this in Traverse City, so it was cocktails, beer, breakfast, things like that. And so they gave me a call back. I'm like, I don't really want to work over here. I literally live right next door. So I did. I took the chance. I came over here, and I started I had the experience, but I just wanted to bartend once again, just bartend. And I took I was here for a few months, took a hiatus for like 3 months because it was during season, baseball and all that, so I needed to be over there. And then they asked me if I wanted to be here full time in a management position, and I said, you know what, I'm tired of the morning thing. These people, with the situation, I'll do it. Yeah. So then at that time, Josh wasn't here yet, but the GM or the manager that was over here went to the Scottsdale location because that person left, their GM over there left, and he kind of just said, hey, this is yours. And I was like, okay,
this whole building here?
Yeah, this whole building. Yeah. So and it was a lot. I mean, we have a whole story to tell, but it was a lot because there wasn't things and systems, and it was great, for the neighborhood, and the concept was great and what the original owners had put together, but there was no structure. So so moving forward, we had a good team over here, and then they're like, hey, we're going to open another location. And at that time, the manager, the original GM, he wasn't really on board. And then I was just kind of like, all right, are you willing to go over here? And then this is, fast forward, I meet Josh. So I go over here, I open this third location up north. There's a lot of different variables, as Josh had mentioned before. And I didn't know, what to do. Yeah, I've opened places, here and there with businesses and as a server, but and manage, but just putting everything together with no template, really. Yeah. So I did all these things myself, and then finally, I was working 100-hour weeks to get this started up, and like Josh said, it was just completely different. So then he came in, they hired him, he came in, and then to sum up the story, these other guys kind of wanted to just be done with SIP, and Josh saw the potential, and him and I locked arms, and we got rid of the other location and just focused on these 2 locations and really just flip the script, and a lot of people didn't they knew about SIP. First off, they were like, oh, who's this guy coming in, making these changes? And we did subtle changes, but it was for the better of the business. Because to be honest, like, if we didn't, then what happened from the previous people, we probably wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
So we had to make these executive decisions, and we had to be on board. And if you weren't on board, we totally get it, but this is our livelihood now. And, there's a lot of other options for other people out there, but this is what we're going to do. And we got a lot of flack for it, but it all made sense in the long run. As you can see, we're like blessed in where we're at right now. So
I always say it's kind of like, when you're an investor and you buy a flip property and you think it's a great deal, and you get in there and you start tearing walls apart, and you got termites, and then you got mold, and you got, oh no, and you got to tear the house all the way down to the foundation. That's exactly what we did with SIP. We had to tear it all the way down to the foundation and rebuild it. Yeah,
So-
and implement an infrastructure and systems and processes that would make us more successful operationally.
Definitely. And you guys had both experienced that in your own respective ways before coming into it. What were kind of some of the pivots, without getting too in-depth with it, that you guys decided to make that really shifted gears for you?
inventory.
Keeping
I mean,
inventory?
yeah, I think anything and everything from an operational standpoint, again, there were no systems and processes in place. So, I in my career, I've taken over a lot of distressed operations and turned them around and made them successful again. But SIP was by far the most challenging, by far. And I'm talking about these previous restaurants that in the past I've taken over were super high volume. I'm talking 10, 12 million a year.
Wow.
SIP does a fraction of that. So, if you can imagine, it was very difficult, So we had to terminate a lot of people that weren't on board and didn't buy into what we were doing. We had to, we changed the coffee, we changed the logo, we changed processes, we started doing inventory, like everything you can imagine. Operationally, we implemented, and there's a lot of people and things that we had to get rid of. It was kind of like out with the old and in with the new. Sure. And to some respects, we're really still doing that. 7 or 8 years ago, when SIP was founded and opened, there weren't a lot of people doing beer and bar concepts and blending the two together. SIP was kind of like
Coffee,
the pioneer of that, and so now, fast forward 8 years later, whatever, you've got everybody doing it, and so that's the reality of this business, is that you'll go into a new market and you'll do something, and it's just a matter of time before somebody else creeps in doing the same thing you're doing, and they're doing it better. So, that's kind of where we're at, and we're finding ourselves in a position where we're really having to reinvent, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think COVID taught us a lot, and we've noticed a lot about our business, and so that's what we're doing. We're in this phase of reinventing ourselves as a brand.
And to be honest, I was a little apprehensive as well, because I was in the day to day, and I did see what our community wanted, and I did, but from a numbers, and that's where I say Josh and I are the yin and yang, because it's like, okay, at the end of the day, we blend in and we balance each other out. And it was like, okay, well, for us to move forward, then yes, we have to do these things, because it is always changing and it is always growing. And if we just stayed stagnant and remained the same, then that's, that's what would happen.
Well, from a management perspective, and you were talking about leading is different than just executing earlier. That's one of the most difficult things, it seems like, for businesses to do, is to create those processes and whatnot, but still have the culture that buys into it. And if you can articulate to your staff and to consumers that those processes are what makes the business run, so you can come in, enjoy the coffee, and have a job and all that, that's when you really start building a business that seems to flourish. And this place, it seems like, is kind of really starting to hit that runway and taking off, especially with opening this new spot. Was there a moment that you guys kind of went, okay, now we have the ball rolling, we've got things going in the direction we need them to be?
I think there's been several of those moments, and then we realized, nope, we're not there yet.
Sure.
There's more things I need to do. I can't tell you how many places and spaces I've looked at for another location for SIP, and then, we huddle on it and realize, there's still some stuff that we're not ready. Our food program needs more work, or, we'll probably never be 100% there. and I don't think anybody ever is, but I think today we're more focused, more driven. Our brand is stronger. We're better. We're the best version of our brand that we've ever been, for sure. Can we tighten it up a little bit? Absolutely. But I think from an execution standpoint, a service standpoint, we're in the best place we've ever been. And there's a lot of different, in this industry, look, there's more moving parts than any other industry out there. But then with SIP, there's even more, because we do a lot. We do coffee, we do food, we do events, we do beer, we do cocktails. There's a lot of stuff that we do that not a lot of other brands or concepts do.
And with a drive-through.
Yeah. And now with a speakeasy. So.
Seriously.
And breakfast, which you said is the hardest meal of the day.
Yeah.
But because it's the most important meal of the day. That's probably why I'm angry about it.
Well, even throughout this process, definitely, it was we pulled these product mixes and things like that. And when COVID hit, we found, hey, this is what we sold the most of. This is what, So we, like he said, we learned a lot. And we pulled back on a lot of stuff because of what is going on in the industry with hiring, with getting good help, and us taking care of the people that we've had, a lot of turnover, just like a lot of places, but we've also had a lot of people stick with us too, that have been behind us, and that says a lot for them, because our team members are the face of SIP in reality. And our community is, who makes us and what makes us as well. So, and we're still learning, and we're not 100%, and it's always going to be like that, but we're going to keep persevering and keep trying and do the next thing without being too trendy, or falling into the trends, but, but still keep an open mind.
Yeah.
We don't need to go too deep down the rabbit hole of hiring, but that's something that we're hearing all the time lately. And I always like to hear different perspectives on something that's as important as, keeping people staffed, because that's how you run your business. What has that journey been like for you guys, and how have you kind of figured out how to work around everything that's going on?
Well, it's every operation's number one issue and problem right now is staffing. We're no different. It's really hard to compete, especially with the bigger operations, because they offer benefits and, all the things that we're not able to. And then now, too, from a labor standpoint, it's harder to staff than it's ever been before. And then you throw COVID and, all the benefits the unemployment benefits that people are getting on top of that, it makes it even more difficult. So we've just tried to, create a culture that people want to be a part of, culture shaped from the top down. And we're aware of that. So we know that, when we get people in here, that we need to spend time with them, especially for myself. Mo is a lot more in the day-to-day than I am. But, I realize myself that it's important that I show my face, that I come down here and I rub shoulders with all the people, and I engage in conversation. I ask them how they're doing. I tell them that they're doing a good job. We do evaluations. We just have to be more involved with their day-to-day too, and they have to feel like they're supported. When we're running out of something, we have to get more glassware, whatever it is. Give them the tools that they need to be successful at their job, and then take care of the people that do a really good job for us.
Sure.
But like I said, it's more challenging than ever before. You have a lot of entitled people out there that want to work 3 hours and make $500 an hour, and they want to raise every couple of days, and and to be honest, me being a little bit ahead of Mo in years, age-wise, it's harder for me to relate, because I come from the old school days where I just put my head down and I worked. I didn't talk back to my superiors. I showed up whether I was sick, hungover at the time, or whatever, and I worked because I had to. I didn't have anybody else paying my bills, and I worked as much as I could. And it's just a different time now. It's a rarity that you have somebody that'll do that, that'll put in the work and not complain, and so it's difficult.
Yeah, I'm the youngest person sitting in this group here, and I come from a decent area and all that, so I've seen it firsthand. Kids rolling up to school in Mercedes and BMWs and cars that I'll probably never be able to afford, and they're 16 years old. And to see, not to get into the politics of it, but with the unemployment side of things, it literally incentivizes people not to work. So it's an interesting thing to see the way things are going. But, you know, that's one of the reasons why we love doing these podcasts and talking with people in the industry and sharing their stories, because, you know, maybe someone's up there serving coffee and they run out of an ingredient and they're feeling that stress. But what they don't realize is on the ownership side, it's not like you guys are just rolling around in piles of cash laughing at them because they're trying to figure it out. You guys are working, you know, day and night to make sure you have stuff in and dealing with the fact that, I don't know how it is with coffee and whatnot, but a lot of things are hard to get right now. And so you have to source new materials and things like that. And so it's definitely interesting to hear the perspective, and it's always refreshing to hear people like yourselves that are talking about building the culture from the top down and being present and chatting with your employees, because that's one of those things that it's not like you can just look at a sheet and say, okay, I spent 3 hours in the location talking with people. If you're doing it with that kind of perspective, that's the exact opposite of what you're trying to put out there. And so
100%. Yeah, and I think even as I mentioned before, you can get caught up in the day-to-day checklist or proverbial, you know, punch list of what you need to do from an operational standpoint or ordering standpoint, you know, and get caught up on your laptop. But it's as I sit here and say this, I realize that I'm doing it myself right now and spending too much time on my laptop and not enough time behind the counter with those guys, you know, just talking to them. And that goes so far if you can just spend the time to get to know your crew, to work with them, to joke around with them, to create that environment that, you know, fosters fun, happy-go-lucky, and creating energy into the space. It goes a long way.
Well, the times have changed as well. You know, like managing people is different. You're not, you know, the old school way, like Josh said, just put my head down. I come from a blue collar town, you know, a lot of General Motors workers, a lot of people just did what they had to do, things like that. And, you know, just put your head down, didn't ask questions, just did your job and be proud of it. And, you know, yeah, we all had those jobs where, I don't feel like coming in, you know, when we were younger. But first of all, people don't think like owners. Not everyone does. And then now managing people is different. You know, I can manage you one way, I can manage him one way, I manage another person another way, because there's all these different personalities. And, you know, before it was just do as I say. Now it's kind of like, well, why? Well, what, you know, or what, you know. So there's a lot of different things going on, and, you know, good and bad, that hey, I know I need to be this way with somebody, you know, but still be myself and get the point, you know, delegate accordingly. But I know with this person, I can just say, here's this. I can give this person a list, you know, whether it's in the kitchen or up in the front of the house, and they do it, you know, where other people are like, I need you to show me, I need the why. And so it's different, you know, and people are different, new generations are different, and it's the same thing, adapting a business. Even the hiring process is different. You know, we used to have these, all of us know when you do, you know, corporate, you know, obviously is different as well, but these questions, you know, these mundane questions of, you know, not just tell me about yourself, but now it's asking these key questions, especially for kitchen, like, what are you doing? Where are you working? I'm, you know, not anything against Uber or any of that stuff, but this is what I'm doing. Okay, that's not a red flag for me, but, you know, like, how many of these interviews are you doing? Are you just going to do these interviews so you can, you know, do bare minimum right now? And I've been finding the people that have the other jobs that are like, hey, I'm working this place in the morning, I can work with you at night, or vice versa. And then, you know, because we do harbor that sense of camaraderie and community, that it ends up being like, okay, well, hey, can you give me full time? Because I'll quit my other job. And it's like, okay, cool. So then now, and we've been pretty blessed. We went through I ran the kitchen for a little while. You know, Josh is upstairs going back and forth to both locations. I mean, we lost some people, but now we're even more blessed than before. We have all these good people in place again. And, you know, it's always an up and down, but I think, you know, like, even like I said, just doing interviews is different these days.
Sure.
So, and they're asking the right questions, and not just the typical questions. So,
well, and the silver lining of something like this, unless we end up in a worse position like a World War III or something like that, fingers crossed that doesn't happen, is, like you were saying, it is a crash course in learning a lot of things that you maybe didn't have to deal with before because you weren't faced with these issues. And in our last issue of the magazine, Mark Tarbell had a quote where he was saying, this is a wonderful opportunity where if you're looking to find a good position in the industry, you have a great chance to make it happen because there's a large gap in the amount of people that are being hired as opposed to what's needed. And so, hopefully once we come out of this, you'll have found several people that are the ideal employee that come in and put their head down and work and are proud of it. And at the end of the day, you can't really ask for much more than that from an employee. And so I'm wondering, how do you guys see things going forward? Do you see things kind of loosening up, or is it still trending in a direction where it's hard to keep people staffed? Inventory is difficult to get a hold of.
I don't think anything's going to change anytime soon. There's if you get caught up in the rabbit hole of watching the news,
sure.
You'll see that like Florida is just going nuts again, and cases are going up, deaths going up, and unfortunately, I don't think anything is going to change with all those with staffing and everything. So I think we're going to have to just stay in a space where we can be creative. And just like Mo said, the good people that we have, take care of them financially, pay them more, maybe consider offering benefits, which is something that we're absolutely entertaining. But, if anything we get from this, we'll get some people, the hustlers, the people that are doing the side hustles, and we'll continue to create an environment that fosters positivity, and we'll pay those people more, because at the end of the day, listen, people want to make money and they want to be paid their worth, and so that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. Well, that's a perfect example of what I was talking about, is kind of the silver lining of having it end up benefit people in some ways on the employee side of things. If they have to work a little bit harder for a little while, but then they end up getting benefits and getting the culture that you're talking about cultivating.
Yeah.
That's kind of the beautiful thing of capitalism, if you will, not to make it, some big pro-capitalism type conversation, but it is a powerful mechanism when you light a fire under people's asses and get them to start doing what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Well, and you weed out we don't, but the ones that don't, if it's not for them, they weed themselves out.
Yep. Sure.
And then we are left with individuals that are like, hey, I want, I stand by what I say and my product and whatever that may be. And even right now with a lot of our, distributors and whatnot, I hear little things from somebody, this is across the world. The profiles of the coffee have changed. I can tell from my palate that this is different, and then they start digging in and they're just like, okay, well, actually, because this person is short on this, they mix these beans with this, and that's why the profile has changed. And so it's going on everywhere of getting even our paper goods, well, we don't have these cups, but we can get these cups because of whatever, the shipping containers and whatnot. So needless to say, is what we learned during the pandemic is we never closed. First, we had the drive-through, which was a blessing. Our community supported us. They tipped these guys out. I saw it every day. They really took care of us, so we appreciate and value that. But what we learned is that we'll adjust, and we went down to 1-2 people and kept people on pay with everything that was going on, and we got through it, and we're going to get through it again if something was to happen, and we're going to continue to do our best. But with the people that we have, we'll continue to try to take care of them and make sure that they feel valued.
Yeah, definitely. I think what we learned is that space is fixed, but business is flexible, right? So, you find yourself in a position where you need to pivot. You just get creative, think outside the box, and reestablish your model from a business standpoint. For us, that meant let's push drive-through, walk-in, take-out, online ordering. So, we really ramped up those processes and procedures, implemented some technology that helped us execute faster, have more of an online presence, and, was able to shift. And if, something happens again, then we can shift even quicker because now we know what to do.
Absolutely. And so let's jump back into, the SIP and 36 Below concepts a little bit. You have this location for SIP and then the one in Old Town, and then this is the only spot for 36 Below, right? So when someone walks into either of the SIP spots, generally what kind of experience can they expect, and what kind of drinks do you guys have on? Maybe something that stands out from other coffee shops.
Coffee and beer. Yeah, we try not to label ourselves as just a coffee shop because we we're open a little bit later than the average, and we offer a little bit more than the average. But generally, when you walk into, as Josh has mentioned before, both locations are completely different. They have a different vibe, and we spend our time at both locations. And, when I'm in Scottsdale, it's all the entrepreneurs, all the younger, guys and girls out there, like, doing their thing. A lot of different people, but they're all congregated together, drinking coffee, and then come shift to the afternoon, just like here, more beverage forward as far as beer. We always have good beer on tap, and then, cocktails. We introduce some cocktails on tap and still make cocktails from handcrafted cocktails as well. So Sip House Scottsdale is more coffee shop vibe. It's more homey feeling. It's a little bit smaller. So you're going to get that warm feeling, definitely. Sip Arcadia or Sip, in Phoenix here, Sip Garage per se is more of that meeting place that it's more open. Come season, it's the garage doors are open, and we have bigger patios. Sip Scottsdale has a nice patio as well, but we still have the good patios for the season, and it's more bar driven, and then workspace during the day, meeting place as well. So they're both unique, same kind of thing, but
I think the building. I was going to say the buildings are unique too.
Yeah.
Right. Like I know this was an old like oil change spot or something, and that's what makes it like you look at the drive-through and you're like, that it looks. And when you're inside, you guys still have the cart that has like it was like the oil change cart that had the stir stick.
No.
I don't know. I thought that was a good touch.
Yeah, it was actually an old Avis lubrication, which is a little bit bigger than your average Jiffy Lube. And so the third garage stall was actually a car wash where they washed the cars after they did the oil change or whatever. So it's a really cool building for sure. And I think, from a product standpoint, I don't think that, we're doing something that nobody else is doing. Our coffee is really good. We work with a local roaster, Regroup. Their coffee is amazing, and I feel like we execute well. We have some really cool signature seasonal sips that we do that we change out every so often. Those drinks are really good. But I think the things that set us aside from other people, we're extremely community driven. We do a lot of events. We do a lot of charities. We just have a strong sense of community. And like we mentioned, our buildings are unique. So I think when someone comes in, they can experience that. They can feel that. They can walk in our spaces, feel comfortable. To stay, to drink coffee, to stay for lunch, then to have a beer, maybe a cocktail, hang out, listen to music, or see what's going on, meet a friend, whatever.
Another beer, another cocktail.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
When you mentioned community and you talked about the local aspect of it a little bit before we talked about the local chai, I don't know if that was while we were recording, local coffee, and then you look in the fridge and you see local beer, you see Greenwood Brewing, you look at the tap list, you see some more local stuff, and maybe it's not something that nobody else is doing, but the fact that you're in this area, I don't know if there's anyone else in this area, but the fact that you're kind of a hub for not only being around other members of the community, but enjoying the products of the communities, it's a special thing, and that's kind of the ethos of what we're trying to highlight with A Taste of AZ, because the more people come in and support places like this, the more local jobs there are, the more local companies are able to thrive, and I think that's something that, especially through everything that's going on, more and more people are embracing and seeking out, and that's a really special thing, I think.
Yeah, we have a lot of cool people, and Josh has lived everywhere and worked everywhere, and I've been to some places, and it's definitely unique. What I tell people, in the cocktail industry and the beer industry, I mean, Phoenix, Arizona, Phoenix is big, but it's small. Because we all know each other, and versus a lot of places where, my business is better than yours, this and that. It's like, let's support everyone. I mean, I visit coffee shops all the time when I'm not, working. I try to go to different places. We do different things within the community and stuff. So we all try to support each other versus, we're doing this better than this. We're just, everyone has their own uniqueness, and we just have to keep up with. Because to be honest, we get, and I know I can speak for myself, with social media and being, doing all these things and being on these platforms, I get wrapped up sometimes of comparison, and that's another number, a downfall right there, because you're trying to compare. Oh, well, this person's doing this and we got to do this, or this is trending. It's like, you know what, to be honest, like regardless of what's trending or what's going on, we're looking for longevity, not just like the quick, like whatever. So and that starts once again with the face of SIP, which is our team members, and then our community, and then us leading by example and being, the leaders that we should be within this industry, and that is being, caring, compassionate, and still, running a business as well. So
yeah, I think we got to have the perspective of us just being in a space where we can just try to be better than we were yesterday from an execution product standpoint. And then also, there's 8 million people that live in the state of Arizona. There's plenty of business to go around for everyone right involved. So we always try to support everybody. Jason Asher was just in here from next door, who previously occupied the space of Undertow. We're all homies, they're like family over there. So we support them, they support us. That's how it should be. Nobody should be talking trash about one another. JoJo's is up right next to our Scottsdale location. They've been thriving. Hey, good for them. Hey, good for Starbucks. Good for Dutch Brothers. That's awesome. They got a line wrapped around their building every day, every second of the day. Great. Good for them. I love to see that. That means their business is doing good. That means we can do good too.
Sure. It's a good perspective. Yeah. That is, and I can see in your face that's not BS either. Like you really believe
no, I really do. I really do believe that.
That's awesome.
I think when you're in a space where you're comparing yourselves or poo-pooing somebody else's business, you don't leave the doors open for you to receive. So that's kind of where we're at.
I think he just summed up the ethos of Arizona food and beverage right
there.
Right?
I think so.
Yeah,
it's a strong appreciation for just the position that you're in, to be able to have this spot and be able to have people come in, and also appreciating that other people are doing something similar but in their own little way. I think it's a wonderful community to be a part of, because it is so welcoming. And a couple years ago we were nobodies in the food side of thing. Eric had his beer podcast going, but since then, we've built connections and are linking up with people like you guys that give your time to jump on the podcast and share your story. And from what we've been able to pick up, there's not too many other places around the world that we would have been able to start something the way that we're doing it now. And SIP is in obviously a little bit different position with serving coffee. You can open a coffee shop anywhere up in the world, but to do it the way you guys are doing and be received the way you are, it seems like Arizona is uniquely primed for those kinds of things.
Yeah. And I mean, you can say something like support local, and then you see a tap list, and there's like 20 beers, and 2 of them are Arizona, right? Kind of. Yeah. But you guys, I mean, it's on your cups. It's in everything that you guys do, and like you said, the neighborhood aspect of it, right? When the neighborhood is supporting a place like this, that says everything.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and these neighborhoods are just growing and growing and growing, and building and building and building. So we've seen this new influx of people. And we've seen some old, other people are regulars and people that we don't see anymore, but now we see. So it's always what it's going to be. There's always so we just try to capture them on their first visit and their second visit, and
And it's work. It's day-to-day work. I think a lot of people, and I know I can speak from experience because we've done this, we've gotten complacent, You get used to just running your business or just not wanting to go out and get outside the 4 walls and do marketing or do the things that it takes to continue to build your business. But listen, competition is fierce. There's a lot of people that have come into this area. The Porch opened up down the street. Provisions opened up around the corner. There's a lot more going on in Arcadia now, so we've had to really work hard on all fronts, especially marketing, driving different platforms, utilizing social media, figuring out how we can drive more traffic. And I think that it's when people get complacent is when they start seeing business drop off. So, we've had to really hustle these last few years, 6 months to a year.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, then that's a piece of Melissa here joined. Do you want to jump on, Melissa? As we're talking about the marketing side of it. So this is Melissa. Do you want to introduce yourself? You can use this microphone here.
Hello.
There you are.
Hi, everyone.
So you are, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, I'm Melissa Anaya. I'm the owner of Eat Drink Creative Agency, and we've been running all of SIP. Well, started with SIP a couple of years ago, and obviously they took off with 36 Below and jumped on board with that. And we've been running their ads and just adding more fuel to the fire that's already out there with them.
Yeah, Melissa's been a key element in the growth of both of our businesses. You know, when we took over our SIP, I think we had 3,700 followers. You know, we're pushing 20,000 now. She's been on, I don't know, how long you been with us now?
Two years. Yeah, he tries to fire me like every month, I think.
36 Below has almost 11,000 followers. We've been open a month. So she's been an amazing key component in our business.
Yeah.
So what is that like working with gentlemen like these, but also businesses that are so social media friendly with the beautiful cocktails, the wonderful quality products, the local components?
Yeah, I think when you get a great brand, and even from jumping on board, sometimes we jump on board and we have to start from scratch, from building, you know, taking over their photos and doing stuff like that. And they already had a great eye for that, which is really nice. They knew what they wanted. Mo is great at that and putting those things together for us. And my problem, and that I've always had, is that you have these great brands, and yes, you can have openings and things will boom, and restaurants and bars will have their influx of people wanting to be at the next hot spot, right? But then over time, like Josh said, and Mo, you have these competitors and people popping up, and no one really plays, and we play in the ad space. So all we're really doing is top of mind awareness and just continuously taking their great products, their food, their cocktails, and we're just driving traffic and ads. And like Coca-Cola, like they don't need to keep advertising, but they do, because they just want you to be the next Coke that they pick up. So we're just invading this space where people live, like, hey, check out this brand new smoking cocktail, and they're like, I have to have that, I need to, I've been dying to get there. And they have the product, and we just invade people's space on their phone where they live 24/7.
Yeah. And it's got to be a fun group of people to work with, because I mean, you come down here, it's a beautiful spot. I've seen your reels several times of the cocktails down here. They grab your eye, obviously.
We're her favorite.
I literally live here. My other clients ask me too. They're like, "Are they your favorite?"
Are they your favorite?
Dude, they're like family too. So it's so different. They really do have a different. I mean, all my clients are so different in their own way, but they really are like a culture and a family. Josh is one of the only clients that will ask me how my business is doing and how I'm doing, which I love that.
Yeah, that's special. And those are the kind of clients that you always want to link up with and work with, because they're what changes your business. Yeah. So how do you see things going here on the media side of things? Is there stuff that you're excited about to cover and share with the world?
Yeah, I mean, they have their new top that they're adding on. I mean, everything that they do. I don't see them ever just being okay with their menu. Even SIP, starting with SIP, I mean, every season you guys drop new cocktails, new coffee drinks. That rarely happens. Usually it's the same stuff. So I think with Josh's background too, and the bars, is he understands that people get bored and you need to keep enticing them with new stuff. So we're always going to have new content, and it's always going to keep driving traffic. So they're great. Usually we're the ones like, hey, why don't we add this to the menu? Or like, let's try this. Or they're like, hey, we have this, let's push this. So I love that they're the ones always coming up with the ideas, and we just get to do what we do and push it out.
Well, that sounds like a blast. I do photography myself, and seeing the drinks that you guys are pushing out it's a photographer's dream, and you're doing a great job of capturing them and building that excitement around it. So it's cool to see, local people working together like that, and not just you guys teaming up with some massive global agency, getting someone who understands the market and lives here and is in the market day in and day out, trying the food and beverage, and has that perspective that I'm sure helps you guys elevate things and communicate that to consumers.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional photographer. I'm pretty amateur, but I'm a professional drinker. So, yeah, I appreciate that side of it.
Then they're the perfect spot for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, like Luke was saying, like with your reels, like it's really cool to share. I appreciate your hustle. Like,
thank you
very much so. Like you're a very busy person.
I appreciate that.
I think it's like, what is it? Movie Multiplicity with the original Batman guy.
Yeah.
Was it Michael Douglas?
Michael
Douglas.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah. Doesn't he clone himself a bunch of times, and then he just so he could? Yeah. But no, appreciate the hustle for sure.
Absolutely.
You do really good stuff, and we get to eat food and drinks,
Yes.
but not to your level. So we're a little
come on
jealous.
board. We'll take you guys on a tour. We'll start
Sweet.
here. We can kick it off at Sip and 36 Below.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I'm in as well. Yeah,
Let's wait
anytime.
at least 1 month, right? Unless we have a pre-chilled van.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, guys, thank you guys so much. And Melissa, thank you for jumping on
Thank
as well. I
you.
hope I didn't put you on the
Absolutely.
spot.
No, you're good.
Thank you guys. Anything else you guys want to share, like, kind of the vision going forward or anything like that with the concepts or a little...
I think in terms of moving forward, we've got some things. We got some irons in the fire. Can't share exactly what they are, but
Hold on, I'll hit pause and then you can share.
there's
Not
definitely some growth for both concepts that are in our future. But we're still trying to tighten up what we have with the existing locations that we have. And I think there'll come a time and a place where we're ready to press go again and really start to grow as a brand for SIP. And 36 Below, you definitely want to do more locations for both concepts. So for sure.
So building a team definitely, and continuing with the infrastructure. So
Awesome. Well, guys, keep it up. Love what you guys are doing, and glad we finally got you on the podcast.
Yeah,
No,
thank
we're
you
glad
guys.
you're
Thanks for
here.
having us. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll be here when they're making cocktails as well. How soon do you guys open?
a couple hours, just hang
There's
out.
beer up there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, go
beer.
up there, have a couple beers, and then come down here when we're open
Call
at
my
3.
wife.
Yeah.
Hey, you know how I was going to pick up the kids on the bus? Well,
Uber.
to get me, and then we'll get the
yeah,
kids.
the beauty of Uber.
Can you pick us all up?
Yeah,
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Thank you.